Hello and welcome back to Saharatv. The story of the enslavement of the black race has been told and retold so many times and from so many different angles. One very important aspect of this story is that of Marcus Garvey, the legendary black leader and activist who set up the Black Star Line to facilitate the return of the stolen children of Africa back to the motherland. Marcus Garvey, along with some other great figures, called for the repatriation of the black people back to Africa. But several hundreds of years later, this idea remains something of a utopian dream at best. Some individuals, however, have, on their own volition, taken the bold step to leave the West and to repatriate to many parts in Africa to settle. In observance of Black History Month, we have invited one such repatriate from Ghana to speak with us on the subject. On the line right now from Ghana, West Africa, is Ras Ariel, who was originally born in the United States but left in the year 1999 to settle in Africa, Ghana to be precise. He has set up several businesses and is actively involved in helping other like-minded ones who would like to make Ghana their home, as well as those who are just visiting. He's the founder and CEO of InfoGhana.com, and he also has businesses which deals in natural body products and real estate. You welcome to Saharatv, Ras Ariel.
Yes, greetings and give thanks for the invitation.
Okay, thanks so much for your time today. Let me start by asking you, what informed your decision to take such a bold step, and why did you choose Ghana?
Well, the elements that helped me to make that decision were all too many, but all too obvious. Black man has little to no place in that place, and it became obvious to me at a younger age. I think the first time I heard Mutabuka say, black man not for living in a white man country too long, I was no more than 12 or 13, and it made sense. And from that time, it was really through the education that we generally get in the songs that man realized his destination was definitely here, Africa.
Why Ghana, though?
Well, when I actually made a concrete decision to pack some bags and go see the land, I looked, and when I looked on the different states, I saw Ghana's flag and got to know the red, gold, and green was blazing. Marcus Garvey's star was shining, and it just was the obvious choice. Plus, there are ones who had come before myself. At the time, I was living in Atlanta, and I had brethren who directed me to other ones that were already in Ghana. So Ghana has been somewhat of a receiving point for ones of us who have returned.
It's interesting that you mentioned that Ghana is a receiving point, because my next question to you is, what's it like to actually move there? What kind of policies does the government have? Does the government regard that whole idea of the missing children, the stolen children, returning home at all? What kind of bureaucracies did you come up with?
Okay.
Come up against, I should say. Sorry.
Well, right. One of the strong pointers that guided me towards Ghana back in the time when I was in the States was in 1996. The then President Rawlings came to Ghana, to the States, Washington, D.C. to be exact, and got on a podium and said, black man, for come in. We are receiving you. And that was all I really needed to hear. The president said, come. But when we did get here, we come to realize that he said that with the intention of increasing his tourism. Because we as Africans born in the diaspora make up a significant amount of their tourist quota.
Yep.
And by maintaining this, or by creating this status of refuge, I should say maintaining, because it was established by the one in Nkrumah, and he meant it with all his heart. And he invited the ones like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Du Bois, the list goes on, and he employed our wisdom and our knowledge, and he incorporated us into the land with the ones that were here who were ready to receive us. But as we know, when he was overthrown by the CIA and the stooges right here in Ghana, his ideals and his plans were thwarted. And we are presently under the rule of ones who don't even recognize us as their sons and daughters. Ones who have, since I have returned, initially there were certain criteria. Every country has its criteria. And Ghana also has its criteria for re-entering. Or not even re-entering, for entering, whether you are a business person or whatever. However, it was possible for ones like myself, simple, young people with family who wanted to make a return to enter legally by claiming the status of an entrepreneur, a business person.
What you're saying is that without claiming that status of an entrepreneur, there is really no policy that allows the stolen children to return at all?
Absolutely none. Absolutely none. In fact, immigration will laugh in your face when you bring that story to them. They're not really interested. I've had that. A number of us have had that experience.
That's really sad. That's very sad. From the social angle, though, is it easy to blend in once you've been able to, navigate all this, quagmire of problems and actually settle down? How easy is it to blend in?
Well, dealing with our people, that's not a problem. Our people are our people. And while lawmakers will play stupid, our people are our people. We are kith and kin. So once we meet again, it's really just like old times. Of course, we have our issues, but that's family. That's normal. So, living and socializing and such, that's no problem. The only problem really is us when it comes to that, because generally we come with a lot of baggage, and that baggage makes it a little bit hard for us to deal with some of the things that we have to come back to terms to. But other than that, the people themselves, no resistance. There's more love. One
of the issues I hear a lot of other repatriates like yourself complaining about is when people call them Obroni, which means basically a person of Caucasian origin. And that seems to be a major worry for a lot of African-American and Caribbean brothers and sisters that have actually moved to Ghana. Why is that such a huge problem?
Well, the simple fact of the matter is that someone from here, born and raised here, will look at the majority of us born and raised outside and see us one and the same, not necessarily because of, the skin tone is obviously going to be the first thing they're dealing with, but they're also considering our different cultural ways and things that, we hold all too dear. That's what I said. We carry a lot of baggage, and sometimes it's reflected. Now, that's not always the case, of course, but the issue is usually less a matter of really just trying to exclude you, more a matter of, associating you with what they probably see on TV or know as Obroni. Obroni, I no longer think the term itself, it literally means white person, of course, but in their mind, the way it's said, it more like means foreigner. And, if you carry yourself as such, it's likely you over.
Okay, all right. So some I've also heard cries for dual citizenship. Some years ago, there was a movement that was calling for dual citizenship for the missing or the stolen children who were coming back to the continent. The other side of the argument was that if you're living, quote unquote, Babylon, you just basically leave it and end of story. Why do you think some people think it's necessary to have dual citizenship instead of just saying, you know what, we're back home and we're here to stay?
Right. Well, first of all, that dual citizenship was something that, again, Mr. Rawlings initiated, or I don't know if he initiated it because it really, I mean, I don't know if it was, you know, because they do campaigns, again, they're very tourist-oriented, and it's not necessarily with any intention of actually going through the thing. But that came around the same time as Rawlings was saying that, you know, we should come home, and that he said that specifically, that we would get dual citizenship and so forth. Now, for the legal aspect, when you denounce American citizenship, you have to be able to receive another citizenship, meaning you have to be at a place who is willing to give you citizenship. You can't just denounce American citizenship or any citizenship for that matter. So one has to be able to at least receive citizenship in the land. And myself personally, I would love to switch over citizenship, but it's not an option as such because there is no, I mean, well, there are ways. I happen to have been married, or am married to a Ghanaian. And so I can over time naturalize and so forth. But it's so vague, that process, that I mean, you can't go to a book and just look and say, yo, this is what you got to do. No one person's going to tell you one flat story. It's a bunch of different stories. So to answer your question, really and truly, dual citizenship is something, at the very least, we should have been entitled. Dual citizenship is a thing that they have actually enacted, but they have excluded us from it. Meaning before, they didn't have dual citizenship for Ghanaians that were living in the UK and the US. Now, the Ghanaians that live in the UK and the US are entitled to dual citizenship. That's what came out of it. But we were excluded. We were the ones that they initiated it for.
I believe you must be really disappointed in the Ghanaian politicians, and justifiably so. If I mean, going by what you're telling us right now. But my next question to you, Ras, is that some also equate the returning children to the biblical Joseph, who was sold into slavery by his brothers and came back to actually redeem them from famine and all of that. What would you say is the role of the returning children to the redemption of Africa?
Well, the saying is old, but it is so true. Africa awaits her creators. And we, the ones who have gone and absorbed all the information and the knowledge, need to bring it home, and we need to apply it. What we have done in all parts of the world needs to now be done in Africa. We need to redevelop. We need to refocus our energies and our resources. And we need to help Africa do what it's going to do with or without us, and that is rise.
Do you see that happening, though? Do you see that happening, or is just, you know, on paper? Do you see the returning children actually playing the Joseph role in Africa at this moment? Okay,
let me answer that very truthfully. Taking into consideration, the returning children are basically first generation. And that being the case, if you look at any scenario where people migrate, that first generation is almost like a sacrifice. The works that we are aiming to do, the works that we intended doing when coming, for the most part, we have met resistance. And the resistance that I speak of really has to do with what you asked me regarding bureaucracy and so forth. Meaning, if there was any facilitation, any protection, or any form of real support from our parents, from our forebears, from the fathers and mothers that we have come home to give our lives energy, our lives savings, our everything, then we would be in a much better position to really and truly make the contributions we intended.
Okay.
However, circumstances are such that we get here and we find ourselves scrambling, literally, for survival. And in such a mode, plans get shot and ideals have to retire to reality.
Of basic hand-to-mouth survival, I guess. Anyway, our time is fast running out, so but I still have a few questions that I really need to ask you. So we're going to try to condense the answers for the next few questions. The next question I've really been dying to ask you is this one. There's this, covert conflict between the stolen children returning and the Continentals about, oh, you sold us into slavery. Now, you and I agree that not everybody was involved in the slave trade, and certain people only remained on the continent because they actually resisted, or possibly did not fall in the line of the slave master. What's your reaction to this? Is it a legitimate argument that we should be having about Continentals selling their brothers and sisters into slavery, or should we rather concentrate on putting the blame where it rightfully is to go?
You said make it short.
I heard you sigh. That's a tough one, I guess.
Yeah, I'm trying. No, I'm trying to see how we can make it real condensed.
Okay.
Really and truly, the sellers from before are selling today.
Yep.
Very little has changed. Now they're selling our oil and our gold and our everything at our expense. There's absolutely no reason that there should be even a person without a car in Ghana considering our resources. But they are selling and squandering, just as they did before. So I could deal with history, but the present is so much more bearing. And if one is not going to acknowledge the present, certainly they won't acknowledge history. My concern really has more to do with the present.
Okay. All right. Okay. My next question again is, on the flip side, there's also the concern that, taking Liberia for an example, some people feel like the returning children are going to usurp power, or they're going to usurp the resources or whatever. Is that an empty thought, or is that something legitimate that people should be worried about?
Well, in short, Liberia as an example is a bad example, because those blacks were sent. Those blacks were handpicked by whites. Those blacks were sent to do a work, and they did it very well. Those of us returning on our own volition, with our own ideals, with the mandate of Marcus Messiah Garvey, a totally different breed of Africans from the diaspora. So the likelihood of that is very unreal. The truth of the matter is, those in power recognize that with our exposure to certain basics, the nonsense that they're doing would be exposed, and the ignorance that they have over the people, the eyes will be open. That's the problem. There is not any legitimate fear of those of us coming from outside. And no, I shouldn't say that. I mean, there are those of us who come with baggage. We come with the mentality of, the place where we have been born and bred. But it still isn't a legitimate concern that those people would have greater power.
All right. Now, the Jewish people, as an example, suffered the Holocaust, Auschwitz. They got reparations. The Japanese people got reparations for Hiroshima and Nagasaki in the nuclear bombing. Africans have been enslaved for over 400 years. Is anybody thinking of seeking reparations at all? Is anybody thinking of offering reparations at all? Are the children returning interested in fronting, a movement of such a nature to seek reparations for the hurt that Africans have suffered for over 400 years?
Certainly we are entitled. Whether or not anyone is actively, I mean, there's presently there's a couple of cases coming out in the West Indies where, as of recently, UK has been taken to, I don't know if it's to court exactly, but they're putting this very issue on the table. However, we as a people, no people is given anything, and we as a people are so divided and so got our hands in the man's cookie jar that we can't really defend our own rights. We have no ground. We have sold our rights, basically. All these leaders just bending over. It's ridiculous. So how then can any one of us claim rights to what is entitled? They're taking our land like it's nothing. So how are we going to demand them pay us for what they have done? They're still doing it. So if waiting for that right now, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Finally, very finally, in a sentence or two, what are your most memorable triumphs in that decision that you took to repatriate to Ghana, and what's your most challenging tribulations in a sentence or two?
That's hard, but I'll give my greatest triumph to the fact that I came home and I met a mate that I felt and I feel is a strength, and my partner from before I left and my partner now, my child. And that suggests that says a lot more than just the fact that I met a mate, but I was able to find myself in this place in the comfort of a family, and I'm extremely comfortable here. I don't fear for my life. I'm good. That is a triumph, considering all that we have to face. I'm still good. My greatest challenge would be, I guess, the opposite of that. Is just the fact that, all facts being what they are, the dungeons, the slave castles being the greatest tourist attraction here, I'm still denied.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ras Ariel. Ras Ariel is also involved in real estate, where he helps. Yeah, he actually processes body products, natural body products, and he's also involved in real estate, where he helps other people who are interested in repatriating back to Africa. Infoghana.com is his website. You can find much more. Info-Ghana. So you'll find much more information there if you want to repatriate back to the motherland. Thank you so much for your time, Ras Ariel.
Welcome to get back.
Yes, all right. Viewers, thanks for making time to listen to this interview. Remember to follow us on live stream Saharatv. Please follow us on live stream Saharatv for a more pleasant live television experience. We're back with more. Stay tuned.